In today's video, I'm going to be sharing the books that I read over the past few months, since the end of March till the end of June. And I'm also going to be sharing the books I hope to read this summer, because if you don't know, I recently graduated middle school and I'm now on summer vacation. I'll be starting high school in September. So a lot of the books are my summer reading books, but the other books are other books that I would like to read. And I haven't been uploading videos for a while. I was part of a writing workshop last week, so my next video should be a writing related video. Anyways, the first book is Agnes Grey by Bronte, which I read around the end of March. It was the first Bronte novel I read. It is a story of morality and religion to guide a governess, and the governess in the story is Agnes Grey. She has to work as a governess to support her family, but also it has been her ambition because she feels like she has no other talent, and she is working for the Bloomfield and Maurier family. The next book I would like to talk about is Magic for Marigolds by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And by the way, I don't have physical copies of a lot of these books because over the past few months I've been reading lots of books on my Kindle. But I've made an entire video about my thoughts on Magic for Marigold, so I won't be talking about it extensively. But it is a story of the adventures and imagination of Marigold Leslie. She is a young girl who thinks that everything is being very fanciful, and like most of Lucy Maud Montgomery's protagonists, she has so many interests. She also has an imaginary friend, Sylvia, and I made an entire video about my thoughts on this book, so you can go and watch that video. The next book is The Outsiders by Essie Hinton, which I had to study for my 8th grade English class this year. And I actually read this from a physical copy, but obviously I had to return it to my school. This is a novel of gang rivalry between the greasers and socias and how they can be united, because there are two gangs of people. The protagonist is Ponyboy Curtis, and he is from the greaser gang, and we also have characters from the socias gang. And these two gangs of people are rivals because the greasers do not have as much money, and the socias are the more elite class of people. Throughout the novel, they learn that there's gold everywhere and that they're all the same in spite of their differences. The next book is actually not a novel, but it's a short story, and it's The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. I actually studied Retrieve Reformation by O. Henry in January, and a lot of students in 8th grade English have studied The Gift of the Magi, but I did not study this story, but I still decided to read it. And it is about the relationship between Della and her husband Jimmy to each give gifts for Christmas. The story has a lot of irony, like most of O. Henry's stories. He likes to use different types of irony, and it's about how Della really wants to gift her husband Jimmy a gift, but she ends up giving him what he actually doesn't need, so she ends up giving up her hair for that gift. The next book is actually a poem, and it is Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. We studied this in 8th grade English class, and we actually read this in March. We reread it in May with the paired poem We Will Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks while we were studying The Outsiders. And this is a lovely poem about how the appearing glimmer and beauty fades, that nothing gold can stay. What appears to be gold will not stay, but the gold within is what will stay. In a lot of the optics. So like nature's first green is gold, but then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, and the last line of the poem is nothing gold can stay. And the next book I read was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Actually, I read Jane Eyre after I read one of these short stories. I'll be talking about these books out of order. I hope that's okay with you. But Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is another book about a governess, but it's different from Agnes Grey, because Agnes Grey is about the adult life of Agnes Grey, and it's about her experiences as a governess over a few years. But in Jane Eyre, it's more of a coming-of-age story. The story begins when Jane is about 9 or 10 years old, and it ends when she is nearly, like, she's in her 30s, so she's much older. The story begins when she's an orphan living at Gateshead Hall with her aunt Reed because her parents have died. But she is treated very poorly by her aunt Reed, and her cousins, and she is just treated very poorly, and she is seen as a lesser being, and she is just so depressed because of living in this place, and she wants her freedom and starts to have a connection with the bird. So that's why her aunt Reed decides to send her to school, especially when Mr. Brocklehurst comes. And the school we sent her to is Lowood School in Yorkshire, and there she meets Helen Burns, who is one of my favorite characters other than Jane herself. I loved Agnes Grey, but I really feel like in Jane Eyre we see this developmental aspect. We see a lot about how we really shouldn't be hating people because they have so much to their personalities. And I feel like I love what Helen has to say, but even with Jane, I like how she embarks on this journey to be a governess at Thornfield Hall with Mr. Rochester and Mrs. Fairfax with their student Adele. And that's going to be the first few books I talk about. I'll be talking about a few books. If you don't know, this video is actually going to be cut into 3 different parts. It's my first time editing a video for my YouTube channel. But I'll be taking a break now, and I'll be coming back to talk about a few more books that I did read, and at the end I'll be coming back with my TBR, the books that I would like to read. So I will be seeing you in the next clip. Hello everyone, welcome to day 2 of my recent reads video. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be using this mic just so you can hear me a little bit better, and I hope you can hear me better. So the next book that I was going to be talking about was All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, a short story, which is about a girl named Margot who is originally from Earth, but then is now living in Venus, and in Venus it rains all the time, and the sun is about to come out for the first time in 7 years. And then the sun does come out, and all the children come to see the sun because they're all so excited. Actually, Margot is the only one that's most excited. The other children don't know what it's like to live in sun because they've been living their entire lives in rain. And when they see the sun, they realize that the sun was always there, but it was hiding behind the clouds. And it's about the sun being a symbol of hope and beauty. The next short story by Ray Bradbury I read was The Pedestrian, which is a story about Mr. Mead, who is a man who claims to be a writer, and he lives in an area, or I would say it's a dystopian society, because in his society everyone has to just stay at home and watch television, and they cannot leave their homes without a genuine reason, and he likes to take evening walks. So one day when an automated police car approaches him, he is then questioned because he is apparently not supposed to be roaming the streets after a certain time in this science fiction dystopian society. The third short story by Ray Bradbury I read was The Veldt, which is a story about 2 children, Peter and Wendy, and their parents. There's a nursery there, and the children become so obsessed with the nursery to the point where they don't understand the love between them and their parents. The fourth story by Ray Bradbury I read was There Will Come Soft Rains. This is a futuristic society where there has been an apocalyptic event, and all human society has been gone. We're not told the reason why. However, all of the automated technology that has been invented by the humans remain, and it's about this idea of how it doesn't really affect the robots or the automated technology in the automated house that the humans are dead, because they don't have that emotional intelligence. It's about emotions, and it's about how the world would be once we've left, and our feelings of happiness beginning to change. The next short story is by Isaac Asimov, and it is The Fun They Had, which is a story, I was really able to relate to it because it talks about a different kind of school, and I feel like during this time we're all able to relate to that because the pandemic has meant that we've been having distance learning over the past few months, which means that we can really relate to the story because the story is actually about a futuristic society where students no longer physically go to school and they only learn at home from a mechanical teacher, and everything is automated. It's through distance learning. And at the end of the story, the protagonist says, "Oh my goodness, I just want the fun they had." That's what Margie says. The next short story is, I also read The Message, which I'm not really going to be talking about, but The Message is a story about space travel, and they've left Earth. They're going to Rubin 23V, another planet, and it's about their journey there. But the other short story that I was going to be talking about was Harrison Burgon by Kurt Vonnegut, which is the story of how society becomes dystopian in the effort to be a utopian society. And Harrison Burgon comes in front of everyone and says, "This is not the way it should be. I want you to dance, and I want you to show the abilities you so proudly have." And the last of the short stories is Examination Day by Henry Slater, which is a story of a boy named Dickie, and after his 12th birthday he has to take an exam. It is the district exam apparently, and taking this exam will determine if he can survive or not apparently, and he doesn't know about this, so there's a lot of irony involved with the story because his intelligence quotient is apparently higher than the average of the area. So it's a very dystopian society. It's a crazy story, and we studied it in English class. I also did, for my English class, read an excerpt of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. We didn't actually read the book. We read a transcription of the broadcast, so it was actually the broadcast. It wasn't the actual book, but I am counting it towards the books I read. Also, for book club I was a part of, it was an online book club. I read a book which I'm going to get to in a minute, but before that I read The Giver by Lois Lowry, and I really did enjoy reading The Giver. We studied it in English class, and The Giver is a story, another society that in the effort to be utopian actually becomes dystopian. The Giver is a story about Jonas, who has been assigned a role as the receiver of memory. And in his society, all jobs are assigned, and they cannot choose their own jobs. In this so-called utopian society that's actually dystopian, there's no color, there's no love, there's no hate, there are no emotions. And then, through The Giver, he learns that there's this world beyond, there's this world of love and unity where people should be united with themselves. So I really love the book. It's quite short. It's only 85 pages, so if you're interested in reading it, I would highly recommend reading The Giver by Lois Lowry. And then the book that I was talking about for my book club, it's this online book club, and I actually wasn't going to pick up this book, but I did pick it up just for the book club, and it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is about how thinking certain things can lead to them actually happening. It's a book that tells you, the idea of the book is basically that if you have the burning desire for something, it will happen because there's a force that's working to make it happen, and that's what the book Think and Grow Rich is about. And I was also part of a writing workshop last week. We didn't read these actual short stories, but we did read excerpts of The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe and The Stand by Stephen King. I would love to read the full stories, but I did quite enjoy reading the excerpts. So I think those were all the books that I read over the past few months, and I'm going to quickly talk about the books that are on my TBR that I want to read. So the first of the books is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is in my summer reading list. because we have assignments. So I'll be completing the assignment hopefully on this book. And I started reading this book. It's a story about growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and the tree is obviously a symbol. It's about Francie Nolan and the society she lives in. It's a coming of age story, and I'm enjoying it so far. I hope to read it, finish it, and complete my assignments. Another book which isn't on the summer, it is on the summer reading list, but I'm not reading it for an assignment, so it's not the one I've chosen. So it's not a priority for me, but I still want to read it. It's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. The first line is so intriguing. It's apparently the classic tale of romantic suspense. A lot of people say it's quite similar to the ideas of Jane Eyre, which I recently read, so I am excited to read Rebecca. I think I'm going to enjoy it. It's the first of Daphne du Maurier's books I'm going to read. I think it's the best place to start. And then I have this book, which I'm going to hold in this hand, and it is The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I did get a few of the HarperCollins editions of Agatha Christie's books for my birthday. You might have seen my birthday book haul. I already read and then there were none, but I'm going to be now reading The Murder on the Orient Express, which is a Poirot book, because again of this book club I'm part of. I just found out that the book club read for July is The Murder on the Orient Express, and I happen to own the book, so I will be reading this book this month. So these are all the physical books I have that I like to read. Apart from that, on my Kindle, I might want to read Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, Shakespeare's sonnets, a few of Lucy Maud Montgomery's books. I'm thinking of reading Emily of New Moon and Kilmeny of the Orchard. These are all books that I'm really, really excited to read. I hope you enjoyed this video and you liked it. And I will hope to be making more videos now. My next video will definitely be a writing video about some writing tips I have for you, because I recently got a few short stories and poems published in Literary Magazine. I was part of a writing workshop last week, and there was a book that I was working on with my school that came out as a physical book. You wouldn't be able to read it, but there will be details about it in the description box. It's called Walking to the Skies. So I hope you enjoyed this video once again, and you have a wonderful day ahead of you and a wonderful summer. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.